So excited to be here and talking about this because I absolutely love all things of just being intentional and goal setting. And so, hello to those that are watching on YouTube and the Facebook page. So many things. I'm like, where am I at? So, hello, welcome to the replay. Welcome. I am just very excited to be talking today about getting intentional. This month is exciting because a lot of things are going to be happening for the Inspire Blueprint. I'm going to be launching the podcast this month, so I'm very excited about that. I'll share a little bit more in a moment. I'm also going to be just sharing a lot more behind the mission and the purpose of what the Inspire Blueprint is, and just really starting to build up this community. If you are not already, make sure you're on the email list. The email list is always going to be linked somewhere. If you're on Instagram, it's in the bio right now. If you are on YouTube or Facebook, it's linked in some different places. So I'll be sure to make sure it's linked in the bottom of this video as well. As just the shop is going to be launching not this month, but in November. So just a lot of fun stuff that's going to be happening very, very soon that I've been working on. And I created this acronym for the word inspire. Inspire has such a deep meaning to me, and I'll share a lot more about it in the very first episode of the podcast. So now I can be like at the podcast, which is coming. But the acronym is something I'm going to be sharing with you over the next several weeks. And so this week we are focusing on the first I, which is intention. So I think before we go into anything, whether we're going into the end of the year, if we're going into a brand new project, anything we do in life, I feel like when we approach it with intention, that is really what allows for us to do it the right way. We're starting it off with a purpose. We have a whole reason of why we're here, what we're going to be doing. And I think that it is so important. And so we're going to be talking about intention today, the first part of the acronym. I'm curious if anyone would ever be able to guess what all the words are going to be. It'll be unfolding soon, but the full acronym will be shared within that first podcast episode, like I was saying. Hey to you guys on YouTube. Hello. Thank you. I'm glad you're able to catch it too. Hello. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about intention. And the first thing with intention that I looked up the definition and I kept thinking in my head, I'm like, oh, it's got to be tied to purpose. And then it actually is. That's the definition. It's basically doing something on purpose. So when we are thinking about how we want 2022 to end for us, how do we want to finish strong? How can we be intentional about finishing strong? What is something that you want for yourself? What is something that you've been putting off or something you've been thinking about all year long? For whatever reason you didn't make it happen, life got in the way, there's been a lot of different things going on. What has been that one thing for you that has just stopped you in a way? But you know that you want to do it. You know that this is the thing for you. You know that you want to finish this year on December 31st. The fireworks are going and you're like, dang, I did that. So I would love if anybody feels comfortable, share in the comments what's something that you've been putting off, or that you started in the beginning and then maybe you kind of dropped it for whatever reason. That doesn't matter. We're not going to beat ourselves up about the reason as to why. But what's something that you've been putting off? What has that been for you? And so I wanted to first just start off with this because it's the first part of the acronym, but also because I think it's important when we go to approach anything. And like I said at the beginning of this live, I actually started it a bit earlier on Instagram, but I am so passionate about helping people to get out of their own way. And I think that one of the biggest ways you can do that is to be intentional about what that even is. So the first question I really do want you to answer, think about whatever the case is what really matters the most to me and where do I want to go in my life? And it doesn't have to necessarily be by the end of the year, but just what matters to you? Where do you want to be? Who do you want to be, right? What are some things that you would love to say, like, oh, I'm this, or I did this? And then also think about, okay, am I doing things right now to get there? So are you actively working towards that every day or every week to actually make that thing happen? And if so, what has that been? Or what are some things you can start doing to actually get there? What are some things you can stop doing that are holding you back from getting there? So I think it's really important. I'm going to read some of the comments to see what some people are saying. Instagram, y'all, don't be quiet on me. Definitely feel free to share as well. Okay, Derica, hello, said being consistent with my goal steps. I plan them fall off and then fall off track. Yes, I completely understand. I'm hoping some of the tips today will be helpful because I want to share a few things that I've been doing, kind of testing out over the last like 3 or 4 months that have been really helpful for me. So I'm going to share some of those things. Let's see. Bree, I hope I'm pronouncing right. Bree or Bray said, God has been telling me to start a podcast, which I started, then stopped due to imposter syndrome. Girl, if only you knew the imposter syndrome I have been having around my own podcast. So I completely understand. I don't want to play small anymore and finally walk in what God has for me. Oh, I pray that He has, well, not even that He has, I pray that you can get out of your own way to finally go for this thing. I think podcasts are such a beautiful, vulnerable space that I've loved to listen to for so many years. And so being on the other side of it, I can honestly say that you definitely have something to say. So definitely do it. And same with you, Derica. I'm rooting you on for your goals. Oh, Evan said, hoping to start crafting and selling both locally and online. Okay, starting with a few choice items. Blech. Jewelry, body beads, and maybe crocheted items. Okay, I love that. Wishing you the best. That sounds really cool. And then Bethany, hello, said taking my planner from just printable to physical. Oh, that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. Okay. Everybody has some amazing goals. And then Miss underscore Tiffany plans on IG said executing my goals. Yes. And I think that it doesn't really have to be something super specific. It could just be the fact of like, I really just want to make some of these things happen. For whatever reason, life has gotten in the way, imposter syndrome has gotten in the way. I haven't quite been able to do it. And so we are going to just talk about how we can start doing some of those things and really root each other on. So I wanted to mention really quick, just a couple of plugs, but not really anything super in depth, but make sure you're in the Facebook group. If you are not, it's a free community to join. I absolutely love interacting with you all. And sometimes it's not as easy to do it on just through, well, specifically I'm saying for like YouTube, it's hard because we just talk in the comments. So the Facebook group is a place for us to get to talk and kind of see each other a little bit face to face in a way. I'm going to be doing challenges in there as well as just interacting a lot more. So if you're not in the Facebook group, make sure you are, as well as on the email list. I have my October freebie is going to be going out tomorrow. I do a freebie the first Wednesday of every month. So make sure you're on the list if you're not already. That will be going out tomorrow morning. And also the freebie is going to go along with what we're talking about today. So after you watch this live, you're going to be like, oh, wait, hold on, I need this. So let's get into this topic. Hey, I see Takia just hopped on. Hello. So let's go ahead and get into this now that we've gotten some of that stuff out of the way. And then at the end, I'll share the podcast release date and a couple other just things to wrap us up. So, okay. So the first thing is, I think it's important to, when you think about intention, think about how can I start living like I'm already doing this thing that I want to do. So even if it seems like it's something so big or whatever it is, or something that has a ton of steps or just different things. I know for me, a lot of times I will get intimidated by just the thought of a process, especially when something is foreign to me. I'm in this season right now with podcasting. You know, I've been doing entrepreneurship for years. I've listened to podcasts for years. I've done videos and social media, content creation, all of those things for years. But a podcast is brand new to me. Okay. And so when I first sat down to do it, I had even done it for someone in a previous role I did in a job years ago. But to be sitting down doing it myself and being like, okay, I need to figure this thing out. It felt overwhelming. And honestly, I put it off for a bit longer than I needed to, just simply because I was scared of the process of what all I needed to do, what I didn't know. And just starting to compare myself of like, well, there's all these people already out there that are established and different things. So when I'm telling you this process and the things I've done, I'm telling you this because I have lived it, I'm living it, and it's something that I'm constantly implementing to just help myself grow as a person over time. So the first thing is what I call go there. So when I say go there, basically what I mean is allow yourself to go there. Set an intentional time aside where you can let your mind wander on this thing you've been thinking about, right? But prepare for this time. So I know if y'all are like me, we might jot some down on a sticky note. Then I'm in a notebook. Then I'm in my planner one day. Then I'm on my computer. Then I'm in the notes app on my phone. And all of a sudden, you have all of these different ideas in like 50,000 places. So the first thing about us getting intentional this year, this rest of this year and beyond, really, is to figure out what is my one tool where I can capture my ideas. We don't need to split anything up. We don't need to have some for personal, some for business, some for this, some for that, some blah, blah, blah. Just one thing where I can capture all of my ideas, because then it won't get lost. You won't be looking for the notebook or what page you wrote it on, or what note app did you know, like you won't have to look for that. Think of the one thing. Some ideas could be the notes app. You know, if you have an iPhone, Evernote is one of my favorite note places as well. Let's see what else. You could use a to-do list type of thing. AnyDo is one of my favorite apps on both Android and Apple. If you're more of a person that likes to write, just get a dedicated notebook or one you already have. I'm not telling you to go buy nothing, but one that you already have that allows for you to use to write it down. If you have a specific section in your planner that you know is for all of your ideas, have one dedicated space for ideas. I think this, to me, was a game changer, because how many times have you went to go and do something, you know, you wrote something down, but you have no idea where you wrote it? That has happened to me. And then it ends up taking long because I'm trying to figure out where it is and I'm getting frustrated. And then I end up either not doing it or I'm wasting my time rewriting what I know I already wrote. So just having something where you're like, this is my thing for my ideas. That's it. I think it's very helpful. And knowing where that is. I'm going to read the comments in a moment. So once you have that, just regularly within your routine, whenever you have a moment to sit down, or if you just on a whim, if you're out, sometimes that's why I like the apps on the phone, because if you're out, you can literally just, you know, pick your phone up and just type it. You may not always have your notebook with you, but get it right then, capture it, get the ideas out of your head, and then set aside a specific time, whether it's every week, every month. I would say at least every other week would be good. But if you can do every month, for you to sit down and go there. Okay. So you can call it whatever you want. It doesn't have to be called go there. But literally on your calendar, put this time in and block it out. So if it's going to be, you give yourself 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, you know, you got that, you know, whatever it is, give yourself the time to go there. And what you're going to do is, you can plan out your go there time, you know, but if there's a specific, maybe it's just one or two things on your mind, but you keep putting it off. I know when life gets super busy, a lot of times we will just be like, oh, I can't think about that right now. Even me, last month, I was talking about all about emails, emails, emails. And then I launched the email building toolkit, which, by the way, if you didn't get it, it is still available and has been very helpful for a lot of people. I've already been getting some good feedback, and thank you to those that did get it. But my mind was all about email toolkit last month. So as much as I wanted to go there about the podcast, and I wanted to go there about this launch for the Inspire Blueprint and all of these things, I couldn't. And so instead, I captured it in my one place where I put all of my ideas. So now I had this specific time. It was actually, I love to make sure I do one right before the new month starts. And I sat down, it was a half-hour block where I just allowed myself to go there. And during that time for you, it could be anything. Dream it up, like go all the way. Even if you haven't started it yet, that's kind of the point, you know, write down all of the things you think you have to do to make it happen. Write down all of the things that might get in your way, the people, you know, the financial aspects, just the things you don't know. Write down what it would look like if this thing was a success and it was rolled out and it happened. And it doesn't have to just be business related. This could be anything under the sun. It could be a project you've been wanting to do at home for a while. It could be something kind of in depth you want to do for someone in your life. I know my grandmother's so sweet. She always does, like when we hit the big milestone birthdays, like when I turned 30, when I turned 21, when my mom turned 50, like she went all out and she got gifts for that amount of years. So like I got 30 gifts. And then it was actually funny. My mother-in-law actually did the same thing for me too. But sometimes that can take a lot of planning, right? So if it's something you keep thinking like, oh, I would love to do that for so-and-so, instead of just continuing to keep saying to yourself, oh, I would love to do that, do it during your go there time, you know? If it's a project you want to do for your house, if it's something you want to do for yourself, you want to take a trip, but you just haven't had time to sit down and plan it out. If it is a business, if it's starting a podcast, starting a YouTube channel, whatever it is, allow yourself to go there during that time. And then you can even do this with other people. So I just want to have that note. I wanted to make sure I mentioned, like, if you and your spouse have been saying, or, you know, someone you're with or a best friend, whatever, if you've been saying like, oh, we should do this, we should get a rental property, we should pay off our debt, we should do whatever. Like, if it's something where you just keep saying like, oh, that would be cool to do this, that's the type of things you want to go there with. Really give yourself a chance to kind of clear your mind, dream it up, think about it. And then what ends up happening with the time is not only have you been going there and you've been talking about it in your journal or wherever you're writing it down, but you are starting to map out the plan to get there. You are already working through it as if it's already happened. And there's this thing with our brain. I've heard this so many times. I don't know any technical things. So I'm not going to give a technical word, but there's so many things that if we talk it through, sometimes we convince our brain that we already have done it, which is kind of cool. So when you allow yourself to go there, you are already walking yourself through it as if you've done it, which I think is really, really cool. So that's the first part. Schedule the time, and you can call it whatever you want. I call it go there, but you can call it what you want. So I'm going to take a minute to answer or just look at comments, and then I'll get into the other two steps that I have. Hey, Shalina. I just saw she got on. Hey. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Derica, thank you. Okay, so I would love that for the Facebook. Can we post questions in there for help? So yes, the Facebook group. Yes, it just depends on the question. So if I'm always here to help, of course, but if it starts to get to be anything super in depth or specific to like your specific business needs, I will definitely point you in the direction of signing up for kickoff calls so we can discuss exactly how I might be able to help you with your business or the different programs I have that might be able to help. But 100% ask, because that's what the community is there for. And even if I don't answer it right away, or if I don't see it right when you post it, someone else in there may be able to help you, because I don't know everything, So there's a lot of people and resources. So yes, please post. Hey Pamela, so excited you're here too. Takia said, I would love to start and stay focused on building email lists and not finish, but keep building it up. Got my toolkit. Glad you got it. So I just need to really dive in and get fully started. Yes, just dive in and do it. Allow yourself to go there. Like I was saying, if you need to just take some time to just plan some things out. Blessings, I made a live. Hey, Trina. Yes, so that is the first one, is to schedule the time, capture the ideas, and then allow yourself to go there. Okay. So the second thing that I wanted to share for how we can make this part of the year intentional and beyond is to take that a step further. So this doesn't necessarily have to be the thing that you are going there on, but it could be if it's related. You want to set your goal. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about setting the goals, a bit different. It's not like it's anything new, but I wanted to just share kind of how I'm approaching goals recently, because life has been heavy and I have really had to fully convince myself like, okay, you need to do this, right? Because when we're going through different things, dealing with a lot, I didn't even share at the beginning of this, but yesterday we were in and out of the vet. My dog is having a lot going on. He's having some heart issues. So I was crying on and off all day. And I knew I needed to plan this live. And so it's really just going, or not going there, I'm sorry. It's really important to make sure that you're setting goals that you care about, right? Like not just setting a goal because, oh, it sounds good, or, oh, that would be kind of cool. Oh, I saw so and so doing it, but really something that you care about and that you're tied to, because that is really what is going to allow you to do it and want to do it, even when there are tough things going on that are pulling you away. And yesterday was tough because I was so exhausted, like very, very tired. So the first thing about it is to, of course, set the goal. So what is that goal? I asked you at the beginning of this, what is something that's really important to you? But even more so, what is something you've been putting off this year that you've been really wanting to accomplish? I don't think it's too late. Even if you can't fully 100% finish it, even just getting those first few steps is better than nothing. So addressing what is that thing, and then just answering these basic questions of, okay, why do I want this? Why who is it going to help? Why do I need this to happen? When do you want it to happen? So give yourself a deadline. Just like if you're at work and your boss tells you you need to have XYZ done by this date, tell yourself that. And then also how. So not necessarily the steps specifically, but just how are you going to make this happen? So a great example of this might be, let's just use a home project, because I mentioned that earlier. If you have like a big project you're trying to do at home, maybe you're trying to like redo a room, or you're trying to redo your garage. I know I'm saying things that I know I want to do. But just kind of thinking of how. So if there's anyone that you need to reach out to, if there's anything you need to learn about, research, do you need to do an inspiration board? Like just kind of just jot down some random things, do a brain dump of just how you could actually make this thing happen. What are some things you need to do, people you need to reach out to? And then identify the gaps. so that you can take those out of the way. Because I think sometimes when we think about a situation, but we automatically have like this one thing in our way, whether it was, someone said, oh, you could never do that well, or maybe that the financial piece of it is stopping you, whatever that one or however many things it is that is leaving that gap for you from actually completing it and it just being an idea. Identify those and figure out what you can do to fill that in. So if there's a gap, I'm going to give a great example of this with the podcast. Okay. So with my podcast, the biggest gap for me was, honestly, there were a lot of gaps, but if I had to just pick one, I think the biggest gap for me was like, okay, well, what am I going to talk about? Because I already do my YouTube channel. I was posting on Instagram, not, I wouldn't say really that much, but enough. I was posting on there. I'm doing this email list. So I was like, what more do I have to say? And that was really what hung me up for a while. I'm like, what am I going to talk about on this podcast that I'm not already saying to people? I don't want it to be like me repeating the same things over and over again. And so identifying that was helpful for me because I'm like, okay, if I know I know about the technical stuff, I know all of those things, but if I could just sit down and go there and just start brainstorming some ideas, even if it sounds crazy or scary or whatever, but just identifying it helped me. And so that's what I did. I just brain dumped everything and allowed my mind to wander, wrote down stuff that didn't make any sense, just so that I could think about what it is that I was trying to do. And so eventually it came to me, which you will definitely see as it unfolds when the podcast launches. But it helped to just actually look at like, well, why am I not doing this? Versus all the things I needed to get done. Well, like, what is the thing that keeps making me stop and putting it off? So then, of course, break it down. I think that's just in general, break your goals down. But I think the completion date is definitely important. And then getting some accountability. So whether you have a community, like I mentioned, get in the Inspire Blueprint community over on Facebook, you can definitely be accountable on there. As well as if you have a coach, you have an accountability partner. I don't know if Shalina's still on. She's mine. Hey, having a friend, your spouse, announcing it. That's one thing I always do. It definitely is scary, but I will announce something in a minute. If I keep talking myself out, I'll just straight up be like, hey, this is coming. Just putting it out there, right? So whatever it is, just create some accountability for yourself, because I think that's another big thing. So like for the podcast, since I'm using this example, I've kind of shifted to that. But I told Shalina, she's my accountability partner, I told her that I was coming out with one. Couple months ago, I mentioned that I was launching a podcast, even when I wasn't fully convinced, on a live that I did. I think it was the 20K celebration for the YouTube channel. And I announced it. I was like, hey, I have a podcast coming. So that is another way to do it. So now when life is getting hard, things are picking up, we're getting ready to get into the busy holiday season and all of that. I have not only identified the gap, I've given myself time to go there and kind of conquer that, figure that out. I've figured out how I'm going to do it and given myself a date of when I want to complete it by. Even if it's not a specific date, be like, okay, I want to have this done by mid whatever, or by the end of the spring, or, whatever it may be. And then creating the accountability so that you have people out there that know that this is something you're doing. I know for me, I always feel guilty if like I say I'm going to do something and then I don't do it, or I don't follow through with, like, it's really hard for me. So putting that out there is a big, big, big piece for me. And it doesn't have to be this huge goal of launching a podcast. It could just be the simple things, of just things you're trying to do. If you're trying to be debt free, tell somebody like, you know what, I'm on a debt free journey right now. And I just wanted to share that with you, and then that person tell them, be like, you know what, check in with me in like 2 months and see how I'm doing with my savings, or whatever the case is. Putting those things out there is going to be so helpful for you. So that's kind of the part that I wanted to share of just the goal setting process, of how I'm approaching goals a little bit differently. And then the other just random little tips I wanted to mention, really just the last tip, I guess I'll say in a point, is to plan for you. Okay, so I'm going to say exactly what that is, because I see Trina is putting them in the comments. So number 3 is going to be plan for you. Let's see. Takia cannot wait. I can't either. I keep trying to get an accountability person. It's hard to do for me. I definitely understand. I'm going to be honest. Like, I'm a very introverted person, like in real life. And so it was really scary for me to put myself out there too. But I think if it's something you really want for yourself, and if you are surrounded by people, I think no one has an excuse these days. We are surrounded by people that are doing the same things as us. Hey, Apollonia, the same thing. So if you're in a group, if you know of someone, just ask them, like, hey, not really wanting a whole lot, but wanting to know if you would want someone to be accountable. We're kind of doing similar things. Find someone that's kind of around what you're doing. I think that helps as well, because sometimes it could be looked at as like, if someone's giving more than another person, but if it's someone that you feel is close to your level, or but also has a bit more information than you might have in certain areas, and you can also help them in certain areas, I think that's great to have something to bring to the table. But I think having accountability is so important. I can definitely say I've learned that more this year, is just that it helps you accomplish so many more things because you've told someone, they're asking you about it, they're following up with you, and it just gives you that extra thing in the back of your head, like, oh shoot, I did say I was going to do that, didn't I? So let me take a sip of this really quick before it like gets cold. Oh no, we're good. Okay. Thank you, Trina. So let's talk about the point number 3. And that is to set time for you, plan for you. What this basically means is, whether you are a mom, if you work full time, if you are a business owner, if you're not a business owner, if you have 50,000 things on your to-do list going on and you are not on it, however that looks, this is the moment for you to listen, because it's important for a few reasons. It's important to celebrate yourself. First of all, I learned this specifically from my business coach. She always will ask, like, oh, well, how are you celebrating yourself? And, with different things. And a lot of times we'll just kind of pat ourselves on the back. Oh, okay, good girl, you did a good job, whatever. But we never really take a minute to sit in what we did, right? So if it is accomplishing this big goal you have that you want to finish for the end of the year, or whatever it may be, how are you going to celebrate that? That's one more thing you can look forward to when you accomplish it. So if you're going to take yourself out, I just got a facial last week. It was really, really nice. I'm not going to lie. It was nice. It was a couple parts where my face was itching a little bit and I was getting a little concerned. But other than that, it was really nice. And it was something different that I don't typically do. And so just celebrate yourself. If you dealt with a lot, if life has just been heavy, how are you going to celebrate yourself that you are still here and standing and making it through? Also, planning rest time for yourself. So just as much as we plan go activities and things to do, specifically, how can you plan time to rest? Take naps, just lay down, read. I have been like turning into this crazy reading person this month. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I used to love reading before I had a child, and then my excuse always was, oh, I don't have time to read anymore. So then I kind of did audiobooks a little bit. But this past month, y'all, I think I read, I'm not even lying, I think I read 6 books. I think I read 6 books in September, like physically sat down and read them. One of them, I did kind of a duo. It was that Maddie James Everyday Magic book. I read it and listened to it. But the rest of the books, I sat down and read them, y'all. I just couldn't believe that. So making time for rest, things that you love to do, just that you haven't done in a while, it's important because it really fills us up. It allows for us to reset, just to have those times for ourselves. That has nothing to do with anyone else. You don't care if someone likes it or not, because it's not about them. But just putting that time on the calendar as well, even if it's every so often, if you can't do it every week or whatever the case, that's fine. But I think, to me, having an intentional finish to this year is making sure that you were a priority on your list, that you gave yourself time to be pampered, to feel special, to heal, to just breathe and just have some peace and quiet. Like, I think that is so important. I don't know when did I say this? It was on something. I think it might have been on a podcast episode. I don't know, y'all. It's too much stuff. But one thing I love to do is to just get some quiet time. Like, I love music and listening to podcasts and all that stuff, but being a mom, for me, I've really learned like how much overload it is with like your senses and stuff. You're constantly being touched and there's just loud noises and it's just a lot going on. And so I really love when I can just get in the car and drive and I just have nothing on and I can just hear myself and maybe, some of the outside traffic, but specifically, like, if I'm driving, I just hear like the tires on the road. It's just peaceful to me. So it doesn't have to be anything over the top, but just start finding ways that you can implement time for you within your everyday. And I think if nothing else, to me, that is ending the year with intention because you're putting yourself first. So just as a quick recap, we talked about quite a bit, but the main thing is that I am in the midst of really showing you all what the Inspire Blueprint is about throughout this month and going into next month. The podcast is going to be launching October 19th. So get ready for that. I'm very excited. That's the date. Also, there is an acronym that I'm rolling out that is for the word inspire. So this week I was talking all about the I, which is intention, and just being intentional about what we do, how we approach things is very important. And so you'll get to learn a lot more about the acronym as we go on. But I think that, and just understanding that the Inspire Blueprint is really about helping you build a life that you desire, that is full of freedom, full of legacy, and full of impact. That is just my biggest goal, to help you. And that is all about getting out of your own way to just accomplish whatever it is that you want to do. So I'm very, very excited for this time of year because my plan is to definitely finish this year with intention as I am just rolling out this business in the way that it really needs to be rolled out. So I'm very excited for that. If anyone has any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, feel free to drop them. I'm probably going to get off here in a moment. Let me see. Alyssa said, I totally feel that. I love driving in silence. Girl, it's nothing like it. Nothing like it. It's funny, whenever my mom comes to visit us here and me and her are driving in the car, it's happened a few times now. She'll be like, you really don't listen to music? And I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. Because like sometimes I will, but when I'm just in there by myself, I don't even realize that it's quiet because it's just so peaceful. Like it's just so nice. So I definitely love it as well. See, Derek has said, oh, my oldest son's birthday is the 19th. Oh, okay, cool. Well, happy early birthday to him. Let's see. I've never been a book reader, but I got me hooked on needing it for me time. And now I have 7 books. I think I've read 4 books my whole life. I love self-help researching. Yeah, and so that's another thing too about the reading. Like I think one of my problems was I felt like everything I needed to read had to be like self-help or personal growth, which I love those kind of books. But I do feel like sometimes a lot of those books are repetitive and they just say it in different ways. Sometimes I love them all. Don't get me wrong. I've read quite a few self-help books this year, personal growth, different things like that. And I've loved all of them because they're all approaching kind of the same thing from a different aspect, which I love. But there is nothing like reading a good fiction book. Okay. Like I kind of forgot how good fiction is. And I really got into like Colleen Hoover. Right now I'm reading this book called 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. It had a little bit of a slow start, but it's picking up. So I'm almost finished with that one. I'm about halfway done with it. But it's just been so good. Like I've been sobbing and crying. The book's been so good, staying up late, trying to finish them, reading them when I'm waiting on my daughter's school to finish. Like I've been finding the pockets of time to read. And it's just been so cool to just have something that I can do that it just allows me to escape from the everyday, the to-do list. Like I just encourage you. It doesn't have to be reading. It just find that thing that maybe you used to love it. It could be just drawing, right? Doodling or whatever it is. Like I think we just need to kind of get back to the things that used to just bring us just small moments of joy because it's so much going on. So we need that. Let me see. Oh, Apollonia, thank you. Thank you. This, I'm trying to think, where did I get this from? It's from this place called Pink Lily. I think I got it last fall, but thank you. It's really warm. It's so cold here today. So I'll just have been wearing on my cozy clothes and stuff. Let's see. I just enjoy listening to things that, oh, this is Sandra. Hey, I just enjoy listening to things that can take me out of my reality. I love crime novel fiction. Yes, like I just love it. Like it's something about being able to escape in a good book. And I don't know why it just took me to now. Like I used to love reading. I used to read all the time when I was younger, and I don't care. I could have 50,000 things going on in my day. I'm gonna sit down to read for at least 20 minutes, if not more. And it always ends up turning into more because I'm like, well, just one more page, just one more page. Oh, I'm almost done with the chapter. Like, it's just been such a good pastime for me. And I've noticed that I've been on social media a lot less also because of that. And that's always a blessing in my book. So that was the recap. Or did I give the recap? I don't even know. Basically, the first thing, set aside some intentional time for you to go there, simply meaning to allow your mind to wander on things you've been thinking about, getting debt free, getting a rental property, doing a big project in your house, starting a business, launching something, making something happen, doing something for someone, whatever it may be. Allow yourself some time to go there, put it on the calendar so that this is my time to sit down and just go wild with this idea. Write down all of the things I can possibly think about it, things to do, things I don't like about it, things that scare me, things I need to find out. Allow yourself to go there, but put that time on the calendar. And even more so, make sure you have a place to capture all of those things in one place. So one notebook, one note-taking app, so that you can have it and you're not looking for it when it's time for you to go there. The second thing was to set the goal. We broke it down a bit of just really answering, why do I need to do the goal? When do I want to make it happen? So giving yourself a deadline, how you're going to make it happen, and then creating some accountability for yourself along with that goal is really helpful. And then the last part is just planning for yourself, planning time to rest, planning time to do things that bring you pockets of peace and joy and quiet, just planning those time. All of those things is the recipe for us to finish this year with intention. I feel if anyone else has anything else to add about just finishing the year with intention, I'll be on for like 1 or 2 more minutes if you want to add anything in. But lastly, I just wanted to do a couple of plugs at the end of this because just so much good stuff is coming and I don't want you to miss out. So if you aren't already, make sure you're on the email list. I have my October freebie that is going to be going out, my monthly freebie, tomorrow morning. So make sure you're on the list. I actually have a printable that goes along with Go There and like what all that is. And so if you are interested in that, like creating your own Go There time and all of that, you'll definitely want to be on the list to get that freebie. That'll be in that inspired note tomorrow, as well as another little extra thing. I'll tell you, I created a little playlist of some really good gospel music. I already have them, but I kind of took like my favorite ones and put them on a playlist. So that's also going to be in the inspired note tomorrow. And we're just going to be talking about some good stuff in there. So make sure you're on the email list. Also, the podcast, as I mentioned, that's going to be launching in just a couple of weeks on October 19th. So I'm very excited about that. Be sure to be on the lookout. There's going to be some fun stuff specifically that week. So make sure you're tuning in for that. If you're not in the Facebook group already, make sure you join. We're going to be having a lot more interaction going on in there. I think, again, like I mentioned earlier with the podcast, it was the same thing with the Facebook group. I'm like, okay, what am I doing in here, right? So sometimes there's just things we have to step away from a little bit to get clear. And that's exactly what happened with the group. So I'm clear now. So make sure you're in the group, or if you kind of stepped away, turn on the notifications, or however that works for the Facebook groups, because we're going to be in there chatting and talking and just encouraging one another. And I think that is pretty much the last thing I wanted to share. Also, if you haven't got your hands on the email building toolkit, that is available as well, just as a last thing, because I know I shared about that last week. So that's pretty much it. I appreciate you all for getting on with me today. And I am excited that this was the first live on the Instagram page since we've switched over with everything. So yeah, I'm really excited. Thank you all for joining me today. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And we will definitely finish this year with so much intention. And we will just finish the year so strong. Bree said, what is the Facebook group name? Did I miss it? Oh, no, you didn't miss it. I don't think I actually ever said it. I'll make sure that it's linked in the description of the YouTube video. And I will also be sure to add it to Instagram as well. So give me a couple minutes after I get off of here. But yes, the Facebook group is called The Inspire Blueprint. So that's how you can find it on there. But I will update the description with the link to it here shortly for you too. And then Derica said, if we have questions on email toolkit, we got, where do we ask? Yes. So right within Podia, there is a place for you to ask questions. There's a chat right in there, the course platform. So you can just ask any questions right in there. And then I get them straight to my email and I'll respond usually within like 1 business day. So, all right. All right. This has been a good one. Wishing you guys the best week ever and hoping to see everybody soon. I think I might go live next Tuesday. We'll see. So see you soon.